G'day, it's Mark and welcome back to the channel. And in this episode, in our Fairlane history series, we look at the Ford Torino-inspired ZF. The ZF Fairlane was available from March 1972 until October 1973. Built on the same wheelbase as the outgoing ZD Fairlane, the ZF Fairlane was all new and was based on the XA Falcon. The cars were designed by Jack Telnack and Brian Rossi, and they had a Torino-inspired design theme. Both the XA Falcon and the ZF Fairlane had a pronounced hip over the rear door, and the Fairlane went to horizontal headlights and moving away from the vertical headlights of the ZC and ZD models. Compared to the outgoing ZD model, the ZF Fairlane was longer, wider, and had a wider track. There were a number of styling themes that were considered as part of the ZF Fairlane development. You can see here some rear treatments of the tail lights. One of them has a very distinctive Mercury theme. If you look at this compared to this Mercury marquee from sort of 69-70, you can see the influence there. But the final design was a very clean, horizontal look, almost giving the appearance of full-width tail lights, but only the extremities illuminated. The ZF Fairlane was up against some much stiffer competition from Chrysler and Holden, namely in the form of the Chrysler by Chrysler and the Holden HQ Statesman. Despite these very worthy competitors, however, the ZF Fairlane still retained market leadership over its rivals. A Fairlane Custom remained in the range, and this was fitted with the 250 cubic inch or 4.1 litre six-cylinder as standard, with the 302 and the 351 V8s as options. The Fairlane 500 featured an electric clock, variable ratio power steering, and this made a real difference to road feel and was a huge improvement over the previous ZD model. Optional equipment included a vinyl roof, a steel sliding sunroof, stereo tape player, quarter vent windows, because these had been eliminated on the XA and ZF Fairlane design, but they were still available for those customers that liked the ventilation afforded by these vent windows. There were still a few customers that liked that, although the option was relatively low in take-up. There was also a dual exhaust system available as an option on the V8 models. Front disc brakes were now standard across the range. From a styling point of view, as I mentioned, there was a heavy influence from the Ford Torino range. You can see this on the caps of the front fenders and the rear fenders, and just the general roof line and overall theme of the styling. The ZF Fairlane had quite a fussy grille with 8 vertical rectangles, and then the centre part of the grille bulged out. And this central part of the grille that protruded forward was then carried through into the bonnet or the hood design. As I mentioned, in terms of engines, the Custom was available with the 4.1 litre 250 cubic inch 6. It was not available in the Fairlane 500. And this engine had 155 brake horsepower or 116 kilowatts and 240 pounds of torque, foot-pounds of torque or 325 newton meters. Standard on the Fairlane 500 and optional on the Custom was the 302 cubic inch V8, and that had 240 horsepower or 180 kilowatts and 305 foot-pounds of torque or 414 newton meters. The top engine available was the 5.8 351 cubic inch V8 with a twin throat carburetor. This had 260 horsepower or 194 kilowatts or 355 foot-pounds of torque or 481 newton meters. The Fairlane Custom with its 6-cylinder engine was also available with a column shift 3-speed manual transmission. The Fairlane 500 was exclusively available with a 3-speed automatic transmission, and you could have that either as a column shift auto or a T-bar automatic. Other options included the availability of air conditioning. Power steering was an option on the Custom, but standard on the Fairlane 500. A radio was optional on the Custom, standard on the Fairlane 500. And for the first time in an Australian Fairlane, power windows were now available as an option on both the Custom and on the Fairlane 500. Dimensions were length 198.8 inches or 5,050 millimetres, wheelbase 116 inches or 2,946 millimetres, width 74.6 inches or 1,895 millimetres, and height 53.9 inches or 1,369 millimetres. The cars weighed in at 3,141 pounds or 1,425 kilograms. And that would vary depending on the options that were chosen. Fuel tank capacity was 17.5 gallons or 79.6 litres. Both the Fairlane Custom and the Fairlane 500 had 14-inch wheels, steel wheels with hubcaps. There was an optional factory mag wheel available as well. Another thing worth mentioning is, this was a car for the 1970s, a new generation in terms of design. If you look at the ZC and ZD, their styling themes were more from the 60s, particularly from the influence from the Ford Galaxies of the time. And as part of that design philosophy of the 70s, the colours is something that really stands out. And, similar to the ZD, but in the ZF Fairlane, there were some absolutely fantastic colours that you could buy. Oranges and purples and greens and, tremendous colour schemes. And one thing I should mention regarding options as well, there were interior fabrics that were available in terms of seat trims, cloth inserts in the bucket seats, which had some pretty wild 1970s colour themes as well, which set off the exterior colours. And then I mentioned the sliding steel sunroof, the factory mag wheels. Well, my brother actually had a ZF Fairlane 351 in white. I drove the car. It was a terrific car to drive with that variable ratio power steering. It was, really nice car to drive. And he had the Continental roof, which was a half vinyl roof with the steel sunroof, had power windows, white interior, white exterior, black roof, the factory mag wheels. And the Continental roof sort of swept down from the C-pillar over the top of the doors of the car, the back doors. And it had a Continental badge, which looked like it was taken off the Lincoln Continental. I'm sure it probably was. And that was a terrific car. He had that for a little while. And again, one of those cars, I'm sorry he sold it. He said it didn't have enough power for him, but it had plenty of power, really, 351. But that was a car that I really remember fondly, from back in the day. So, yeah, nice memories. I mentioned earlier that the competition was certainly hotting up from Holden with the HQ Statesman and also the Chrysler by Chrysler. But having said that, the Fairlane still maintained market leadership. And in fact, it sold 3-1, outsold the Statesman and the Chrysler combined. So that just gives you an idea of how successful the ZF Fairlane was. Ford Australia sold a total of 17,306 ZF Fairlanes. Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode on the ZF Fairlane. Please make sure that you, if you haven't already, watch the whole Fairlane history series from ZA, ZB, ZC, ZD, and now obviously ZF. Plus, you can also check out the Ford Falcon history series. Go to the home page and you can see here the playlist. Just drop down and check out the Falcon history playlist. You can also see the Holden Commodore and the Chrysler Valiant, plus a whole lot more content. So thanks very much for watching. Please give the episode a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time. Bye.